Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the channel. DJ here again, fresh from my vacation and my adventures in Italy, up the mountains, right up in the sky, and enjoying myself so much. But I haven't come to tell you about that. You can see my videos of what happened in Italy. Look at them. Please look at them and subscribe if you like them. And put like as well. And make comments if you wish. I've put the address in if you wish to book for yourself. It's well away from the city of Milan. 2 hours drive, hour and a half if you're Italian. They do drive dramatically. But what I'm going to talk to you now is about the UK. Yes, I'm back in the UK and I want to talk to you about the UK Prime Minister, the head of the Labour Party government, and he's commented publicly for the first time on last Wednesday's decision of the highest court in the land, where all 5 judges on the UK's highest court unanimously ruled that the legal definition of a woman under the Equality Act 2010 should be based on biological sex. Yes, on the sex they were born as, on the gender that they were described as. They decide, has the baby got a penis? Has the baby got a vagina? Oh, yes, that's how they should describe. But it's taken the Supreme Court of the UK to decide that's the way. Wonderful, hey? Our Prime Minister said the judgment provided clarity that a woman is an adult female. He's got it in his mind now, because the courts have told him he needed to be told that a woman is an adult female. Presumably, his mind may, we never know, stretch that bit further and think a girl is a female that is not an adult yet. So it's not an adult female, but still a female. But we'll see, won't we? What's the world come to when the Supreme Court of the British people have to make and define a legal definition of what a woman is, so that our Prime Minister has his clarity of the meaning when men and women in the street call a woman and a man a man. The ruling has caused consternation among some politicians and tens of thousands of people who protested in the central London on Saturday the 19th of April 2025 against what they said was a betrayal of the trans community. Makes you cry, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. But the Prime Minister, who previously said trans women are women, said the court had provided clarity, and the public services now needed to ensure their guidance was in the right place according to the judgment. Is he saying that local governments didn't know until this court judgment that a woman is a female? It leaves me speechless, but it's not going to. I'm going to carry on. The only reason is I've written it down. So it's left me speechless, but I can read what I've written. It marks the culmination of a long-running legal battle which could have major implications on how sex-based rights apply across Scotland, England and Wales. The court sided with campaign group Women for Scotland, which brought a case against the Scottish Government, arguing that sex-based protections should only apply to people who were born female. Judge Lord Hodge said the ruling should not be seen as a triumph of one side or the other, or over the other, and stressed that the law still gives protection against discrimination against transsexuals. He told the court the unanimous decision of this court is that the terms women and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to biological women and biological sex. But we counsel against reading this judgment as a triumph of one or more groups in our society at the expense of another. It is not, he said. He added that the legislation gives transgender people protection not only against discrimination through the protected characteristics of gender reassignment, but also against direct discrimination, indirect discrimination, and harassment in the substance of their acquired gender. Campaigners who brought the case against the Scottish Government hugged each other and punched the air as they left the courtroom, with several of them in tears. Well, tears of joy. The Equality Act provides protection against discrimination on the basis of various characteristics, including sex and gender reassignment. Just put that in. Judges at the Supreme Court in London were asked to rule on what the law means by sex, whether it means biological sex or legal certified sex as defined by the 2004 Gender Recognition Act. The Scottish Government argued the 2004 legislation was clear that obtaining gender recognition certificates amounts to a change of sex for all purposes. Well, I'm sorry, Scottish Government, but it doesn't. You cannot change your sex. Biologically, a male's pelvic region is narrower than a female's pelvic region because the pelvic bone opens up, is wider, the man's is like that and the woman's is like that, to allow the baby to be born and expelled from the body of the female. Males don't have that. Males have penises and females have vaginas. Females have ovaries and can give birth. Men cannot. Females have breasts when they grow up as adults and they provide milk for the child. It's feeding for the child. Men do not. Gender is fixed at birth and before birth. How do I know before birth? Because when I had my two children, a boy and a girl, my wife and I had images of the baby inside her womb, and it showed the sex. We know. We know by science. We know by medical science. We know by the facts. You cannot change your sex. Stop. That is the natural occurrence in this world. Speaking outside the court following the ruling for women, Scotland co-founder Susan Smith said, "Today the judges have said what we've always believed to be the case, that women are protected by their biological sex. Sex is real and women can now feel safe that services and spaces designated for women are for women, and we are enormously grateful to the Supreme Court for this ruling." First Minister John Swinney said the Scottish Government accepted the judgment. He posted on social media external, "The ruling gives clarity between two relevant pieces of legislation passed at Westminster." The ruling gives clarity. Here's another one. He didn't know that a woman was a woman until the law lords told him so. He's the First Minister. He acts as the Prime Minister of Scotland. We will now engage on the implications of this ruling. What implications? A woman is a woman. There is no implications. A woman's a woman, a man's a man. Swinney added, "Protecting the rights of all will underpin our actions." A Scottish Government spokesman insisted ministers had acted in good faith during the legal proceedings and noted that the Equality and Human Rights Commission was updating its guidance in response to the judgment. A UK government spokesman said the ruling would bring clarity and confidence for women. Women didn't need clarity, they knew they were women. But the government spokesman says it will bring clarity and confidence for women and service providers such as hospitals, refuges and sports clubs. I don't know why they needed clarity. A woman is a woman and a man is a man. It doesn't matter if he dresses in a dress. It doesn't matter if a woman dresses in trousers. They do not change their sex. Oh. Single sex spaces are protected in law and will always be protected by this government, the spokesman added. What about the Conservatives? What did they have to say? Did they have anything to say? Well, they did. And Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch described the ruling as a victory for all of the women who faced personal abuse or lost their jobs for stating the obvious. Good for you. What about deep concern? Deep concern. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling posted on social media it took 3 extraordinary, tenacious Scottish women with an army behind them to get this case heard at the Supreme Court, and in winning, they've protected the rights of women and girls across the UK. Yes, they have. But Scottish Green member of the Scottish Parliament, Maggie Chapman, a prominent campaigner for trans rights, said this is deeply concerning, a ruling for human rights and a huge blow to some of the marginalised people in our society. It's a deep blow for these marginalised people who do not believe that a woman is a woman and a man is a man and cannot change. It could remove important protections and will leave many trans people and their loved ones deeply anxious and worried about how their lives will be affected and what will the outcome be next. How are these lives going to be deeply affected? Well, because men dressed up as women will be told you cannot use the women's bathroom, you cannot use the women's toilet, you cannot change in the women's changing room, exposing your penis to ladies that are embarrassed by your presence. The rights there are of the majority of women using a women's facility, not the rights of a man who thinks he's a woman and has mental problems. It could remove, this is going on with Maggie Chapman, this member of the Scottish Parliament, a Green Party member. It could remove important protections and will leave many trans people and their loved ones deeply anxious and worried. For women, Scotland had warned that if the court sided with the Scottish government, it would have implications for the running of single-sex spaces and services such as hospital wards, prisons, refuges and support groups. Yes, it has already shown that rapists have said, I'm a woman, I believe I'm a woman, and have been put in women's prisons, sharing cells and facilities, washing facilities, shower facilities and toilet facilities with women that they've previously, not the women in the prison, but women that they've previously raped. That is the worry. That is the worry this Maggie Chapman should be worrying about, not the rights of men who think the women and women who think the men. Transgender people warned the case could erode the protections they have against discrimination or reassigned gender. Scottish trans manager Vic Valentine said the organisation was shocked. What were they shocked about? By the court ruling, arguing that it reverses 20 years of understanding on how the law recognises trans men and women with gender recognition certificates. They added, this judgment seems to suggest there will be times where trans people can be excluded from both men's and women's spaces and services. Well, yes, they will be excluded because a man dressed as a woman is not a woman and should not be in a woman's single space. It's hard to understand where we would then be expected to go, they said. How this decision is compatible with society that is fair and equal for everybody. Fair and equal for everybody means fair for the majority of the people. One person cannot come in and say, I'm going to break the rules because I think I'm a woman when I'm a man, but I think I should be treated fairly and be able to come into a single space, woman's space. No, no. The idea to try to make us feel guilty by saying we should be fair and equal to everybody is an impossible dream. We cannot be fair and equal to everybody if some people are not claiming or are claiming to be a gender they are not. They're putting themselves outside of the law and then saying they should be included. We didn't put you out. You put yourselves out. The case follows years of heated debate over transgender and women's rights, including controversy over transgender rapist Isla Bryson, initially put in a women's prison, and an ongoing employment tribunal involving a female National Health Service Fife nurse who objected to a transgender doctor using a woman's changing room. The National Health Society in Fife said it would be carefully consider the court's judgment because that woman who objected to a man in her women's changing room was dismissed. Now they've got to see what they're thinking of. What were they thinking of? Well, they were thinking of the rights of a single individual against the rights of the majority. That's what they were thinking. The judge ruled that interpreting sex was as certificated rather than the biological would cut across definitions of a man and woman and thus protected characteristics of sex in an incoherent way. They said a certified definition of sex would weaken protections for lesbians, citing the example of lesbian-only spaces and associations, and it would mean that trans women who are attracted to women could be classed as lesbian. So a man who says he's a woman would have free reign with the lesbians in a lesbian space. The ruling found the biological interpretation of sex was also required for sex spaces to function coherently. It cited changing rooms, hostels, medical services and single-sex higher education institutions. The judge noted similar confusion and impracticability had arisen in relation to single-sex associations and charities, and women's sports, and public sector equality and armed forces. The judge added the practical problems that arise under certificated sex approach are clear indications this interpretation was not correct. Gender reassignment is a protected characteristic in law, making it illegal to discriminate against someone on the basis that they are transgender. However, single-sex spaces can exclude people with gender registered certificates if it is proportionate to do so. Let's see. Dr. Nick McCarrickle, senior law lecturer at Glasgow Caledonian University, said the ruling means a transgender woman with a gender, the GRC certificate, who was excluded from a single-sex space would be unable to argue she's been discriminated against as a woman. He also said the ruling implied that workplaces would need to provide separate spaces for people on the basis of biological sex. Separate spaces for people on the basis of biological sex. They already do. They're called men and women's. They have a sign, there's a man and a woman on the sides, and you go in. Those are the separate spaces for biological sex. But the law lecturer said arguments over access to single-sex spaces would not be settled by this court case. He told the BBC, it doesn't mean everything overnight is going to change in terms of stopping trans people from accessing services. It will depend on what providers think the new definition will mean for them. Dr. McKeckle said the judgment does not immediately change anything for the rules on transgender participation in women's sport, but it might prompt a reassessment of the rules. Just how did we get here? The legal dispute in 2018 when the Scottish Parliament passed a bill designed to ensure gender balance on public sector boards. For women For Women, that's an organisation, by the way. I'm not saying For Women, I'm saying For Women, which is an organisation in Scotland, complained that ministers had included transgender people as part of the quotas in that law. The issue had been contested several times in Scottish courts. Holyrood ministers won the most recent case in Scotland, with Judge Lady Haldane ruling in 2022 that the definition of sex was not limited to biological or birth sex. Why not? There are no other sexes. Biological birth sex. The Scottish Parliament passed reforms that year that would have made it easier for someone to change their legally recognised sex. The move was blocked by the UK government and has since been dropped by the Holyrood ministers. So we have a ruling now, and we have clarity for Kier Starmer and Haldane and Mackay and McKeville. A clarification: a woman is an adult female. A girl is a female that hasn't reached adulthood yet. A man is a man, an adult male. What was the problem? We've known it since the birth of Adam and Eve. Male and female. Did God make them? What's your comments? Give me your comments, please. And don't forget to subscribe. It doesn't cost you a penny, doesn't cost you a rupee, it doesn't even cost you anything at all. It's totally free to subscribe, so why not? It helps me to continue researching the news and bringing it to you. And also, press the like button if you do like these short posts. They are short. I mean, this one's, 22 minutes? So please press the subscribe button. Please comment and please come again, because I enjoy your company. So until the next one, I'm going to say bye for now.